Welcome to the show. Random noises. Oh snap! Is it time? Is that time already? I'm blinking.
I already finished.
Courtney, I'm blinking
I'm
today.
trying not to blink. If I blink too long, my eyes might not open.
Do you ever
back
like
up.
look at
Hence
somebody
the little
random and just like
tapping.
exaggeratedly blink? Our buddy John does that really well.
Not
Like,
anyone
have
I've
you
ever
ever
been
done like
friends with.
No, not
do it?
like
Try it. Just it feels so weird
Like
to do.
blinking
Why?
aggressively.
Like like you're trying to aggressively blink at somebody. Like you can aggressively wink at somebody, but do it with both eyes.
I want to say something, but it's gonna get cut, and it's too early for an edit.
Or the other one is okay. Furrow your eyebrows like you're angry, and then smile.
That one's mine. I came up with that.
That's pretty.
You never give me credit for that.
Yeah, it's Courtney's. It instantly makes you feel like you're in a good mood as soon as you do it. Like if you're grumpy and you do that, it's impossible to stay grumpy.
Pain.
No matter what,
it's
though,
great.
no matter what, though, how many people you show that, I always enjoy seeing that on your face, Tanner. I think it's the funniest face that I've seen.
So when I got my pastoral credentials, the very first tier, I made that face, and then my dad took a picture. Because I was joking, and I asked him, I was like, okay, did you get the, like, after I quit doing it? He's like, yeah, it's fine. But that was the only picture he took of me, and so I had to post that one. And in the picture, though, it looks like I'm like weeping. And so people are like, I can see how happy you are, and I'm like, I was being so sarcastic. And so it's fitting that my first tier of credential certificate picture that's online is a sarcastic one.
You know what that face reminds me of? I have a picture of you on my phone. I don't think it exists anywhere else. But you have like donut sprinkles or cake sprinkles on your mouth, like around your mouth. And I snapped a picture of you, and you knew it was hilarious, but you were also annoyed, I think.
That's great.
So how long ago?
Bro, that was when I was junior, probably.
That's amazing. I love it.
It's a while back.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love it.
I'll show it to you after.
Yeah, for sure.
That reminds me.
Drop it in the Discord.
That reminds me, Tanner, of the time that I literally had to tell you that while you were snacking, you had a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You just talked about something, and you look at me, and you're like, "What's that face you're making?" I'm like, you have a chip on your shoulder.
Oh man. So Courtney.
Yeah.
Guess the flavor of Bucked Up that I'm drinking.
Venison.
No, for some reason it ties in today's episode really well.
Is it not more Kool-Aid stuff?
No, far
darker
worse,
than
far
that.
darker.
Kool-Aid?
Darker.
Did they pick up our Kool-Aid?
The red Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Okay, darker than that.
Oh no,
Yeah.
not like blood or something. Oh no. Don't
Keep
look so
going,
happy
keep going.
about that.
Keep going. Elaborate on that.
That hit me.
Did it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know.
Blood Raz.
Blood raz.
Is it
So-
good?
I was like, blood on the
Let me
altar. I
waterfall a
don't
little
know.
bit of that. See if I like
Blood
it.
raz.
It's not bad. It's better than other Bucked Ups that I've had.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
That's good. I like it. Bucked
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah,
Blood
pretty
Raz. Bucked Up is interesting because I like their pre-workouts a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like their energy drinks as much.
The ones that Walmart carries, at least, are not good.
Courtney's
one's
bored.
pretty-
We
that
brought up
one's pretty
pre-workouts. As soon as you bring up protein, pre-workouts, working out,
Disc golf.
lifting, bro, her
She
brain.
It turns my brain up, guys.
She's
It's
got
just
this. Like Pavlov's dogs, it's like the moment you bring it up, it's like a bell rings and her brain goes, "Oh,
Okay.
it's time to go to sleep."
But it's
Power down.
it's not pertinent information to me. I'm not going to retain it. And so my brain just doesn't want to take up the energy trying to even listen to it.
And then her
think
trying to
it's very
explain
valid.
this did that to my brain. Whenever Courtney says anything that is intelligent, because Courtney is a very intelligent person, she tends to communicate in a very intelligent way. My brain shuts down. I really don't like it when you try to talk uphill to me.
Anyone who's been tracking the progress of our marriage since we started this podcast, here's a few more notes for you. Let me know how that bar graph is looking.
You use big words.
Stop.
I like little
I'm
words.
not doing that voice again. No.
Why use much words when little words do? Okay, anyway.
Wow.
Blood raz. Good. Okay. So
I'm a little bit sad nobody caught what I was doing at the very intro.
what were you
After
doing?
said, welcome to the
I
show,
didn't catch it.
I was buzzing
Buzzing.
to tie in from where we left off last.
Oh, yeah. Buzz Aldrin.
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?
Oh,
That's what I was
I
going
wouldn't
for.
have gotten that. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's
I was
okay.
not in the room where it happened for this.
Oh,
this
In the
part of
room where it
conversation.
happened.
So
Okay.
was
I'm
trapped
so
in a room
hyped.
with-
How many caffeines?
Not actually that much. Okay,
many
so
caffeines?
all the caffeines. I think I've
You
told
were
it on this
saying?
show before. The time that I mixed pre-workout with Monster and thought I was gonna die. Yeah, I think we've talked about it.
Yep.
Dumb. Don't do that. By the way, if you're mixing pre-workout with your energy drinks, you're dumb.
You also might be an addict.
Yeah, you might
might
be
be-
addicted.
if you did that right before listening, you might be listening to this from the astral plane right now.
For real. Yeah, pre-workouts have off cycles for a reason. The addiction
What?
grows. Okay, so
Crap.
back to Buzz Aldrin.
How often are you supposed to do that? No, I need this
Just,
critical information.
When we took our breaks, that's pretty much long enough. Yeah.
Oh.
You're supposed to cycle off.
Oops.
It's just caffeine.
it's
You're cycling off the caffeine more than
It's
anything.
fine.
So the pre-workout works better the next time. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we were talking after the show ended last week. So these guys, just to give you an idea of, so I will edit the show tomorrow. That was last week. Brain. So I'm talking to these guys. So they'll in the past, but it's our future because the episode hasn't aired yet. So it's the future, but in the past. Okay, anyway, so we were sitting here, we were talking after the episode ended, and we were talking about what's the obsession about with Antarctica? And I was like, dude, I wonder if, and I Googled it, and I was like, Buzz Aldrin, he's a Freemason. He's a Master Mason. He's a 33rd degree Mason, which means he's the top dog Freemason. And I was like, that's weird. What are the chances of that? Because a lot of people in NASA are Freemasons, apparently. And so then I was like, oh, Phil, I need to look this up really quick. And I Googled it. And this is literally in the 30 seconds. We hit stop and my brain started going.
after.
It was immediate.
Also, let us know in Discord chat anything if any of you keep a running toll in your head of what people are involved in Freemasonry, or if it's just Tanner.
Oh, don't worry. I've got a list.
Do you keep that? I know you do. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you keep it on the tip of your tongue at all times. You just know it. You don't even have to research it. So, help me out, guys. This isn't normal, right?
Okay, but so the episode ends and boom, we start looking this up. And guess what? Admiral Byrd.
No one asked.
Don't care.
I asked, and this is important information to me. Admiral Byrd. You remember from last week we were talking about the guy who was obsessed with Antarctica and he
Yes.
did all
Got
those
a
things, built all those
research
bases, did all those
station
things.
Made sexist comments.
Admiral Byrd, Master Mason, 33 degree order.
There we go.
What is Freemasons' obsession with
Sexism?
Antarctica? But what's actually ironic is, so Mustache Man, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Mustache Man actually persecuted Freemasons as well. It's estimated that between 60,000 and 200,000 people were killed in the places that they gathered people. Oh my gosh, something just tied in. Okay, later in the episode. Something just tied in later in the episode. And I am so excited now. Okay, but anyway. Holy crap. Okay, but okay. But anyway, 60,000, 200,000 plus people were actually like gassed in the locations that were Freemasons, and they had their own identifying marker, which was like the upside down triangle or whatever. Whoa. That was different from being a Jew. And so they had to walk around the way that Jews had to wear the markers or whatever.
Yeah.
The Freemasons had to wear their own marker, and he was just as against them as he was weird, right? I didn't know that.
They didn't let him in the club.
That's probably what it was.
Into club.
Like, real talk, they probably didn't let him in. But
no.
I didn't catch it.
In the club.
Oh, in the club.
In the club, we all Mersons.
But yeah,
did you just have that like knowledge, or did you look that up in preparation for this episode, or how did you know that?
The Mustache Man stuff?
Yeah.
No, I found that actually. I didn't know that. That's something I didn't know. But anyway,
preparation for this week?
Yeah, I found it when I was doing research.
Crazy.
But so, if you haven't guessed, so you're hearing the theme of Freemasons. So it's like, dude, you know what we got to do now is next week we got to talk about this and go into Freemasonry and secret societies. So that spawned on the topic choice of today. And that's why we ended up choosing it, was because it was like, there's a connection here, and we got to dig into this connection. Okay. And so that was kind of our topic. So in light of that, we were looking up different secret societies and kind of come up with like a running list so that we could all kind of like do our own research, because the thing about secret societies is that they're secret, which means they're a lot harder to research than Antarctica. You know what I mean?
This is why I was like, I suck at research, because
they're hard.
Oh, dude,
they're hard.
I was telling Tanner before, I was struggling. It was rough. It was frustrating.
So you weren't the only one.
I struggle bust with.
You could have let me know. I would have sympathized more. Instead, Tanner was getting annoyed with me last night.
Did you miss my message?
I could be writing right now.
Did you miss my message? Well, I was like, bro, I need an excavator.
Well, I thought that meant the opposite, that you were finding a bunch of stuff.
No, it meant that I knew it was there, but dude, it's gonna take so much. I barely scratched the surface.
I was finding little things, and then it would be a dead end. So I'm going to share a couple dead ends today.
So I guess I'll kick it off with Bilderberg, because that's kind of the way I felt with that one. I was researching it
like a company for like kids' toys, like Duplo blocks or something.
I think it's because it sounds close to Bilderberg.
Probably.
Yeah, But yeah, Bilderberg is one I was struggle busing, and part of the reason that Bilderberg, so again, as a secret group, part of the reason it's so hard to find anything is because their roster and stuff, they have a very, very strict policy that what is communicated in the Bilderberg meetings is not allowed. They don't allow media. In fact, they won't even allow media within like 200 yards of wherever they're going to be meeting. Alex Jones tried to bust one time, and they caught him. They caught him way out. Too. Alex Jones, have I talked about Alex Jones? You've theory
talked
of him.
To me about it a little bit.
I watched one of his videos in preparation for this, and I'm like, okay, you're kind of obnoxious.
So Alex Jones called 9/11 6 months before it happened. Like, and I'm talking to detail.
That's the dude?
Yeah.
No.
In detail. Okay.
Oh my God.
I have a theory about Alex Jones. I think that he is a prop. He's basically.
You almost said plant again.
Yeah, he's a plant. He's basically. I think it's his dad, allegedly, everything on this episode, by the way, in case we haven't said it, everything that I've already mentioned, everything I'm going to mention is all allegedly, and it's for fun. This is a comedy
Same here.
podcast.
Unless we turn up dead. Then it's true.
Pretty much all of my
Also,
stuff is-
none of us have entertained any of those thoughts, and so we're
Yeah.
good.
We
We're not
became
going to do that.
overnight
But no,
experts. I mean, most of my
jokingly.
stuff
I'm
is
not
from
depressed.
Wikipedia.
This is a
So
this is a comedy podcast. But anyway, so I think it's allegedly Alex's dad was in the CIA, and so I have a theory that Alex Jones is actually a member of the government of one of the ledger agencies, and they feed him information that is factual, and he couples that with out there claims,
Insanity.
and he presents them in ways that sound crazy, so that when you mention that, hey, they're turning the frogs gay, you're like, what? That's conspiracy theory. That's outlandish. And then
Unless
20
that's
years
true,
later,
too.
20 years later, when they find out, hey, guess what? They actually were. And then, by the way, they actually were.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that, they were. It's been covered up, been proven now. Like they admit it openly now. But so then when you mention that, you're like, oh, that's not Alex Jones, dude. That's you're one of those conspiracy theories. Alex Jones, some of the things that he's been correct on, like, how do you call 9/11 6 months before it happens to the detail that he did? You don't. I think so my theory is that he's actually a government plant in order to produce the truth so that it sounds like a conspiracy theory, so that when the truth actually does come out, that it sounds crazy.
or they leak stuff to him on purpose, and he's like none the wiser of what they're actually doing. So he just thinks that he's getting these big scoops and stuff.
Right, yeah,
but
for
then
real.
he just shares it. And
Yeah,
so,
that could be too.
Yeah.
But or the alternative is that he actually has inside people because of the connections he has with his dad.
Yeah,
but,
that's very true.
yeah, they're getting ready to release the MLK, all the 3-letter people's unaliving against their wills documents. We'll probably do an episode on that here in a few weeks as well. But so I'm looking up Bilderberg, and everything's just strictly like off the table, off the books, whatever. And so I'm just trying to find anything at all. And there's kind of a half-hearted list of people who have attended Bilderberg events in the past. Basically, it started in the 50s, and the original intention, it started at the Bilderberg Hotel, and that's why it's called Bilderberg. And it started in the 50s, and basically the idea was that it was a group of Western thinking leaders of all professions. So not just like Prince Philip, not just them, but also
Makes me think of that because I was like, is there a correlation between? Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Between gentlemen's clubs and stuff, like not the American term of what a gentleman's club is, but like them originating. Like, I think the term was a lot more prominent in like the United Kingdom and in Europe and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But it was basically just like a social club. But then it was more about information sharing and business,
Yeah.
and
It grows.
growing contacts and stuff like that. And that Prince Philip, if you watch The Crown, apparently attended at least one of those very religiously. And so,
well, one of them that he did attend was Bilderberg.
Yeah.
But the Bilderberg wasn't, but it was all both men and women. Margaret Thatcher had been to it early on, talking early people. And it originally started as kind of this way for Western thinkers and leaders and bankers and Rothschilds and those guys every year they attend. If you don't know who that is, you should do some looking up because they are powerful. And also the what's the other one that starts with an R? Rockefellers. They're very prevalent there. And they basically started this thing in order to produce kind of the anti-communist, propaganda, like how can we have communication and just kind of all be on the same page kind of thing. And over the years, it's grown and grown and grown. And eventually it's gotten to the point where, like Bill Clinton's been there and and these are the release names. I don't even like this. This is like the half-hearted list of names that have been there of people that they've seen go into the meetings basically. And when you start looking at the government official list, I was like, okay, there's some really big names on there. And there was pretty big names on there. But I was more interested in the like other names and looking at the financial list, because I feel like there's more comprehensive list of the financial people than there was on the leaders list. I feel like they kind of covered either they're either covering up the leaders list a little bit, or the leaders aren't the main purpose of this group. But the financial people, and then so I started digging, and they're just anybody and everybody who's in power, in charge of a financial institution in Europe, United States, like any of these bigger, like Western, quote unquote, Western thinking people, but also China and Japan and Russia have all been involved in it at one point too, with financial people, not their government leaders, but their financial people. I was like, that's weird. And then I did a little bit more looking, and the current the what do they call them? The steerman, the people who run the meetings currently. The person who runs the meetings right now is the former, what's the term, president or whatever of NATO. So the guy who used to run NATO currently now runs the Bilderberg group as the steerman or whatever they call him. And so there's this meeting that is strictly off profile, off limits. If you share information you get from the meeting, you are not allowed to attribute it to the person who said it, and you're not allowed to say where you got the information from. And so the most powerful, the richest people in the world are getting together in secret once a year for like a week and having open dialogue, debate, and basically planning out the next year. Bilderberg is sketchy because of that, I think, because all of these people have they're government officials, they're bank CEOs, they're Nobel Peace Prize winners and stuff like that. Like they're the who's of the world, of every economic importance like that exists, and they're getting together and having secret dialogue. That in and of itself, even if its intentions are good,
it can
that's sketchy,
unsettling.
Yeah,
can I share?
But that's all I found. That's it. There's no information. There's no meetings. There's no agendas. There's no notes. There's no nothing. That's all I found.
So that's it. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Open honesty here.
Crazy.
Phil, I don't think you even knew this, but I started out, Bilderberg was going to be my topic, but I was like reaching dead ends. So you didn't find anything more than I did.
No, there's nothing. There's
Something
nothing
stuck
of
out
value.
to me in an article. For all the organizations that I researched and stuff, besides Wikipedia, it's either a sketchy site that I don't want to take my phone to, or it's a legit source like Washington Post, New York Times, but it's stuck behind a paywall. And I'm like, I don't want to. And so it's like, I'm just going to use largely Wikipedia for this.
Or it sends you to an Amazon book.
There was one article that I saw for Bilderberg, and it mentioned the dude, the former NATO guy that you were talking about. And right underneath it, it was listing off just different people who have spoken. And they had a record of, allegedly. And one of the people who was, I think, don't quote me on timeline, but like recently, like 2019, added on as a chairman was a guy who owns a robotics company called Anduril.
I saw that. Yeah. That was the other.
As in Aragorn's sword from Lord of the Rings. And part of that company, and another part that he owns now, is an AI company that is called Palantir.
Bro, what?
Do you know what Palantir is?
Yeah.
The Palantir from Lord of the Rings, if you don't know, is basically a crystal ball. And the whole time that the steward of Gondor, Denethor, has been running Gondor, and Sauron the White, the wizard who is supposedly good, and then turned evil and turned towards Sauron, and then Denethor was very selfish and was being influenced by Sauron too. They were both in possession of Palantirs, which were basically Tolkien's version of the crystal ball. It connected them to Sauron and it influenced them. And so why would you want to name your AI that?
Yeah, your AI, that's literally like one of the most evil names for an AI that I could think of.
Yeah. So that raised my eyebrows a little bit. But after that, I didn't find anything else and I got frustrated and I turned it over to Tanner. But I did want to share that. Yeah,
that's so were you able to, what was the other groups that you were looking up? Because that's all I have for Bilderberg. Oh, dude, that's it.
I ran into there was
anticlimactic.
Oh gosh, there was a couple different Cornell groups. I think is Quill and Dagger one of them. I can't remember. I hit dead ends like as soon as I found out the names, and I just boom, dead end, boom, closed to all outside reporting, boom, like no list of members. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's like so much. And I'm like, is it just because like it's well known that nothing gets leaked, or is my search source Google like keeping information from me?
No,
I'm like,
100%.
I'm like, good Lord, I
actually was talking to
questioning
Phil.
my researching capabilities.
No, I was talking to Phil, and very, very predominantly, especially on Google, it was very difficult to find what I was looking for. Like, I would type in the word like infamous stories about, or like infamous people related to, or whatever, and whatever search engine I used, it would change infamous to famous. It wouldn't let me use the word infamous. So I started using other words. So I was like, okay, other synonyms for infamous. And it would just omit that word. And it wouldn't even show me like articles that were like, like when you Google something and it's like, it doesn't include this word. Would you like it to include that word?
Yeah.
It wouldn't allow that for the synonym from infamous. It just would that word just didn't exist in the article, and it was just about the organization I was looking for, and it would always be like positive articles. So my guess is my thought process was, whoever is in charge of these organizations, if they have money, they could be throwing money at Google and forcing the top 100 pages to be positive things, because you can do that. You can pay to have your business or your page show up earlier.
Right.
And so I started using other search engines, and it was like, it was crazy. I don't know. Anyway, Brave was probably the one that worked the best for me.
Yeah.
Brave.com. If you haven't, that's a good one that I've been pleasantly surprised at how good it does. But even in this topic, this one was still, Brave wasn't the best, it was the best, but it still wasn't what I was wanting. And I still had to dig page 4, page 5 to get the stuff that I needed.
That's crazy.
But anyway,
But
sorry.
yeah, because I had Bilderberg and it was like an instant roadblock. And then I had, I'm just going to look at smaller ones and just try and figure out some fringe ones and stuff. I didn't come up with a whole lot, which is why Tanner, you switched me with Bilderberg, because you've got a bigger one to share later. But what you switched to me in return for Bilderberg was the Bohemian Grove, the Bohemian Club, which we've watched documentaries on. I feel like that's where it first popped up.
He used to try to disprove conspiracy theories.
Brad Meltzer?
Brad Meltzer's Decoded.
I was going to say that wasn't a Josh Gates show.
No,
I know.
They rode up because it's next to a river,
right?
in a canoe, and then like almost immediately he got
detained.
Arrested.
Yeah,
and so the episode didn't really show a whole lot because they couldn't disprove it because
I have a lot of information on the Bohemian Grove and stuff.
Do it.
Okay, cool. But the Bohemian Grove is 2,700 acres of campground in Monte Rio, California, like right in the redwoods. I think right in the middle of some old growth redwoods. It was founded in 1878, and it was basically a private gentleman's club. And they've developed more and more events throughout the year. I didn't know that. I thought it was just the big one. But the big one is mid-July, so midsummer. I'll come back to that later. And it's 2 weeks long, and it has this reputation of hosting some of the most prominent men in the world, especially the United States. It started out as just basically like a gathering in the wilderness for like artists and stuff, but then they started inviting like business people and stuff, and it quickly took over into like a, hey, let's get together. But
did you say 2,700?
2,700 acres.
So that's 4.2 square miles for people who don't know acres.
Yeah, lots of buildings. I can list those later.
Pretty big.
That's a decent chunk of land,
Yeah.
In western.
So since the founding
California.
Since the founding of it, the Bohemian Grove's mascot has been an owl, symbolizing wisdom. So there's like a 30-foot tall hollow owl statue on the premises, made of concrete over steel. And it's at the head of the lake, basically. Come back to that later, too. Notable members are listed. And this is all according to Wikipedia, guys. But artists, musicians, former presidents. Funny, it never mentions presidents at the time of their,
like while they're president.
It's just former presidents. But I kind of wondered at that. But FBI and CIA directors, senior media execs, university presidents like Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and then notable business people. You know, probably one of the most famous pictures is a picture of a bunch of gentlemen sitting around a table. There's redwoods in the background and stuff. And the guy talking is standing up and talking is Harvey Hancock, who is Nixon's campaign manager. On his left is Richard Nixon, and then on his right is Ronald Reagan. And then there's a bunch of other probably notable people around the table. Allegedly, this also included...
was Nixon and Reagan political enemies?
I don't know, because Reagan was... But they're in the same picture together, that's for sure. Wikipedia had a link to a whole list of them, and there's probably tons more names that don't pop out to me because I'm not very prolific when it comes to, politics or CEOs or, business or history or any of that. But the ones that did stick out to me were Walter Cronkite, and I think that one was just allegedly. I can't... Nope, that one was on the list. George H.W. Bush, Newt Gingrich, Theodore Roosevelt, and I also found that Arnold Schwarzenegger at one point when he was governor of California came as a guest speaker. So
HW really got around the secret societies,
man.
Did.
Well,
really
yeah,
did.
Notice that.
Well, I mean, does it surprise you? His dad so his grandpa, I don't know if this is not really relevant to today's episode, but his grandpa tried to overthrow the U.S. government for the Mustache Man Party. So it'd be
you haven't heard this.
Bush Sr.'s dad.
I remember, I don't know if I knew it and just didn't make the connection to who that was. Or
Yeah. So he tried to overthrow it, and the plot got discovered, and they were like, President, was it Hoover? No, or not Hoover, Roosevelt. But anyway, the president during the war was like, okay, we know that you were trying to overthrow the government for the Mustache Man's party. So instead of doing that, we're not going to throw you in jail, and you're going to publicly back me. And so he backed the president during the war and all of that, and subsequently after. And they stayed out of jail, and then eventually his kid became president.
Crazy. That's like
grandkid.
And grandkid.
Wait, okay, hold on.
So
HW, we're talking about HW's dad or HW's grandpa? Because you said grandpa. I was talking about HW to begin with.
So George, so we got W, and then his dad was president, and then so it'd be W's grandpa.
Okay,
so
I was talking about HW, so I thought we were talking about HW's grandpa.
I love that anytime we talk about George W, it's W, not W.
W versus HW.
W.
That's it.
W.
Yeah. Anyway, that's off the top of my head, but yeah, it was one of their direct parents, grandparents
look at
thing.
all those connections in the royal family too.
Yeah.
Once again, apparently my mind is on The Crown today.
I'll bring up the Crown in my story too.
Okay, so I didn't know this, but apparently members of the Grove take pride and actually tell their new members about it all the time, that there was a very important planning meeting that took place during the Bohemian Grove's session. They even have documented exactly where on the grounds it took place. I can share that later. Which is famous because, you guys have heard of a little something called the Manhattan Project. Yeah, it was a full-on planning session for that took place there. September, I guess it wasn't during the main event. It was in September 1942. So they would have come back on site at some other point, later throughout the year to do it, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, it subsequently led to the atomic bomb. So the ones in attendance, there's actually a list of people who were there talking about it. Ernest Lawrence, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the S1 Executive Committee heads, such as the presidents of Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, along with representatives of Standard Oil and General Electric, as well as various military officials, were all there to discuss that.
I'm noting a lot of overlap between the thing you're talking about and the thing I'm going to be talking about. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
There's a lot of overlap with mine too.
Yeah.
Hey, it's interesting.
Weird, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, they're actually proud of that, and like, this is where it went down. But anyways, what I didn't know, like I said, that meeting took place later during the year, not during their main 2-week camp and stuff, but to make it seem more welcoming, I suppose. Members may invite guests to the Grove, but it's during their spring thing or their June thing. It's not during the main July.
The real one.
Right.
Where they unalive.
You can schedule, like if you're a member, you can schedule events there. And you're allowed to bring like your spouse, your family, and friends. But females and minors must be off the property by 9 or 10 p.m.
Yeah, because they don't want to mix them up with the ones that they're getting ready to.
Oh my gosh.
Unalive.
Jeez. I'm trying to ease into it, and I never quite
no
get
such
into
thing on this
that.
Mid-sacrifice. Mid-sacrifice.
There has to be some
Wait.
subtlety on this
Wait,
podcast.
Billy.
Wait, W, what are you doing up there? Georgie Pooh, get down.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, wow. Okay. Floor's still yours. Sorry.
What else goes down in the orchard?
Well, kind of like how this podcast is turning out. It's a total bro fest. So, no woman has ever been given full membership. There's been a few honorary members, but one of them died in 1928. There haven't been any more honorary female members or female members inducted since then.
Did she die on premises?
Oh, no. Just stop.
Legit, like,
I
honest
don't
question.
know.
Okay.
You want to look it up?
Not really.
Okay. And even then, those honorary female members were never invited to the full, like, club in July. So it was only, like, in the daytime, but they weren't allowed in certain buildings or certain floors of certain buildings and stuff. Yeah. So, and then they were like, oh, well, we'll have special lady sessions in this building on the premises and stuff, but it was still just like they didn't ever have full access.
Yeah.
And to this day, because the other thing in 2019, Bohemian Grove falls under Sonoma County in California. And there's a couple people in office, a couple women in office now on the Board of Supervisors, Linda Hopkins and County Supervisor Shirley Zane, who are kind of like, hey guys, like you're excluding women like completely. And usually, if you're a part of the county government, you get invited to those events. Well, they're the first two women to be elected or to be placed in those positions. And guess what? They're the only two people to be put in those positions that they know of that have never been invited to like one of the events. And so it's like you're governing and overseeing this county and you're not allowed in this place. You know, it just starts to look kind of not great. I don't know if it was directly in response to it, but probably. But so I don't know if it was directly because of this, probably, but it's kind of an offshoot group. I mean, it's named similarly. It's called the Belizean, like Belize, because it takes place in Belize a lot of times. Grove, so the Belizean Grove, which is basically Bohemian Grove for women that they created. I think it's pretty much entirely American, like U.S. Women's Social Club, but there's been U.S. Army generals, there's been executives from Goldman Sachs, Victoria's Secret, Harley Davidson, ambassadors, and even Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, while sitting, I think, was actually a member of it. So their club motto, which you shared about like Bilderberg and just like their policy of not opening up and like not sharing and stuff, and apparently it's like not open to the media. Apparently Bohemian Grove, it's like you don't discuss business.
So it's the opposite of Bilderberg.
Yes, exactly. Their motto is "Weaving spiders come not here," which is a quote from
Shakespeare.
A Midsummer Night's Dream. So
Is that Shakespeare? I genuine ask it.
It was just the
It
way
is
you
Shakespeare.
asked it.
Okay, so that'll tie into something.
yeah, cut that a little bit so I don't sound ignorant, but yeah. I was like, I think it is.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We sound ignorant all the
No,
time.
I'm not gonna cut that.
But
The
yeah.
one time I knew something,
Dude,
bro. I feel
no,
so,
you said
I'm
Shakespeare
accomplished.
before I listed what the. Yeah, I don't know. You know,
Hey,
you were arguing after the fact.
Hey,
Anyway.
I knew something that. Okay,
New is a strong term. You guessed that
But-
correctly.
okay, fair.
Anyway,
but weaving spiders come not here means that like outside concerns and business stuff is to be left outside. But we all know like they did the Manhattan Project meeting there.
Yeah, but not during-
then a
Not
lot
during
of
the main
times-
business session,
Yeah, no.
Or
But like
main-
it's like
main meeting session.
not during the midsummer.
yeah.
Summer.
Not during the midsummer's.
But
night
I mean,
dream.
come on, there's like at least a couple thousand people out there in
Yeah.
a 4 square mile area. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be people branching off to do business deals and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm sure.
And so
Or at least
And then
setting up
important
meetings.
political and business deals have been developed at the Grove. Oh, also there's this great quote by Nixon, which I don't even know how I'm going to quote.
Bleep. Bleep, bleep, bleep.
Yeah,
bleep.
there's
Yeah.
but it's a
Nixon.
specific bleep that I need to explain more because it's
Bleep it as necessary, post it in the Discord.
what?
Bleep it as necessary for the podcast, and then just post the quote in the Discord.
Oh, okay. Yeah, or I could describe it maybe so it doesn't have to get bleeped. But yeah, Nixon in 1971 was it got captured on a tape recording. He said, "The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, is the most F-wordy. How do I? Let me see. Foxtrot, Alpha, Gamma, Yellow." GD thing.
Not the F word I thought.
Hey. Let me finish.
Oh boy.
GD thing you could ever imagine with that San Francisco crowd.
What year was that?
1971.
So yeah, that's post
Like
when
I
that
said,
word
it's
became
specific.
known as.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Weird.
I mean, it was originally meant for artists to express themselves, and there's always been like theater performances and
that
stuff.
tracks
And
with
so
the
it reminds me
arts
of the
majors
episode
I
of The
knew.
Office with Schrute Farms. You remember that? I didn't hear.
You're good.
That's
What?
okay.
Say.
No, it's okay.
Good.
It reminds me of that episode of The Office with Schrute Farms, and then they find out what Schrute Farms like actually really was. It wasn't like a terrible place that soldiers got posted in the war. It was actually like a place for all the fabulous guys to go and like
Oh yeah.
paint in the buff and stuff. Like,
Painting in the buff. Shia LaBeouf.
oh my gosh. So on the premises, there's the Grove stage, there's a field circle, there's a campfire circle, dining circle that seats 1,500. There's a clubhouse, which is a multi-purpose dining, drinking, and entertainment building. That was the site where the Manhattan Project planning meeting took place. Back to that owl shrine, right? Which is kind of, if you've seen imagery associated with the Bohemian Club and stuff like that, it's usually this owl statue, right? So I did not know that it's also where they have their cremation of care ceremony, which is like they actually burn an effigy and like, well, and I guess there's like a theater production too, and someone plays a high priest, and like they slay the spirit of care so that you can be like liberated from like all the weight of the world and stuff before the 2-week camp starts, and just kind of weird. But I did not know that the owl shrine is it has a electrical and audio equipment inside of it.
Sorry, a 30-foot concrete owl with...
Yes, and it's hollow, remember, with
Yeah,
reinforced with steel and stuff.
Yeah.
And it has audio and electrical equipment in it. And for a lot of years, a recording of Walter Cronkite would be used as the voice of the owl during the ceremony. But yeah, no, it's stuffed with all sorts
These
of audio
people
equipment
are
and stuff.
weird,
I know,
Your
right?
demonic owl speaking.
I
Today,
saw a video.
we're gonna burn an effigy.
I think it was the Alex Jones dude who actually broke in and like videoed part of the ceremony.
Yeah.
And just the language that they used is like super weird, but
That was pretty good. That was
Just
pretty
imagine Walter Cronkite.
I
just
know, right?
announcing this just debauchery going on.
I know. Oh yeah, and they did finally allow, I think, starting in 2019, maybe. No, in 2019, they the county stopped providing law enforcement, so they pay for their own security for the event. So they have to hire like ex-military personnel, like they have like high-end equipment and
Oh, man,
like
the
thermal night
wealthiest
vision
people in America.
cameras, motion detectors, vibration sensing, like alarm things. Yeah.
The wealthiest people in the world have to provide their own security
I know,
detail.
right?
Oh man,
I know, right?
The fact that the government was paying for it up until that point,
Well, considering
bro.
I think occasionally, at least sometimes allegedly, Secret Service is a part of that security detail, though, too.
I'm sure they're probably how they get involved in secret services. They probably were invited.
But yeah,
to that.
there is quite a few notable break-ins that have taken place of people who have infiltrated, or they've dressed up as employees for the weekend, or just like full on came in and recorded stuff. And I'll leave you guys to do that research for yourself and look it up. There's also a lot about like logging that would take place around the area, and just like the battle between that and like how the Bohemian Grove members kind of influenced that of like logging is good, logging is bad, it's going to increase fire danger, it's going to decrease it, and it's just a lot of stuff that seems a little sketchy to me too. And just a little quick thing to finish with, I also looked a little bit at the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
I almost looked at this.
Oh my gosh. Openly just like, yeah, we're an occult secret society. Founded in 1888, so around the same time that Bohemian Grove was getting up and going and stuff. It was founded by 3 Freemasons. I got up to about 400 members at one time. So it was founded by 3 Freemasons. So there's Dr. W.R. Woodman, who's a surgeon, William Wynne Westcott, who is a coroner, and McGregor Mathers, who's a full-time occultist. So a surgeon, a coroner, and an occultist.
I didn't realize that occultist was a career path.
I know, full-time.
Full-time.
Apparently he was fully funded in his dark ministry back then. And it was said that Mathers, the occultist, was the real power behind the order back then. They looked into some sketchy stuff and just there were some actual, like, some of the members were some notable supernatural fiction writers. Some of them like children's authors and stuff too. I looked up a lot of their works and they're like creepy. And one of them is Algernon Blackwood. He wrote horror fiction, including a 1910 novella, which is probably his most notable work, which is titled The Wendigo. So that was interesting to find.
That's creepy.
The imagery on the front of it.
Book?
That one, I don't think was a kid's book.
I was like,
but
what
some of the kids' material, didn't look much different from the So, anyways, but they would do like, they're supposedly like vegetarians, and they're not like, they're against like animal experimentation and like non-smokers and stuff like that, but then they're also like deep in the occult and like offshoots of like Jewish practices that turned occult, and just what is it, Kabbalah and
are you saying
astral projection. They studied that, and
Are you saying that vegetarianism is an occult practice?
I am not. I'm just.
I will.
I'm saying it.
I'll go out on that limb. Fight me.
It seemed very naturalist, and then they just kind of took it. And there's been, I mean, obviously, it only got to 400.
We don't believe in animal
members.
experimentation, but we do believe in animal sacrifice.
I can't believe y'all didn't pick up on the last name of the occultist.
Mathers?
Like Marshall?
I mean, I was curious. Could this be like his grandfather or great-great-grandfather or whatever? But Eminem actually has like a pretty exhaustive list of ancestors, and I couldn't find anything. So people are there's a person here or there who's claiming that there's a connection and there's a resemblance and stuff, but I couldn't find anything.
That leaves me with a nice little transition if you've kind of finished up yours, because
it was creepy stuff. It was very unsettling to look at, so I didn't look at it long, and there wasn't much to look at.
The reason
so thank goodness
that I interjected to ask about the Linda Hopkins is because the people who founded Johns Hopkins were members of Skull and Bones.
No way.
Yep.
Well, she's not allowed in the meetings, I guess.
Well, she wouldn't have been allowed in the Skull and Bones meetings until very late either.
Oh.
I think it was like the 70s. I didn't take a note on that one, so I could be incorrect. Okay. But they did not allow women in their meetings until, I think it was the 70s. And I think it was long graduated member was not happy when they voted to let women in and shut down operations for a full year. Yeah. So that's just
it's a big
touch
thing
on that topic for a second, but to give a little bit of background, Skull and Bones is an undergrad secret society at Yale, and it started in like the 1830s. I think it was 1833.
That was the era for secret societies.
I guess, man. I guess.
Yeah.
And like what you mentioned, there's a lot of big names in that list, and even names that. A lot of names that you probably don't know who they are, but had pretty prominent roles. Yeah. Well, so a couple of the names that you will recognize, at least last names, and they occur more than once, because unlike Bohemian Grove, and I'm assuming probably Freemasons, they have the whole roster. You can see everybody that's ever been a member of this society on Wikipedia. What they don't tell you is literally anything else about them. And so I was running into the same brick walls that you were. Yes. It was just like, this is exhausting. But names that you will note among these are, there's a couple Rockefellers. There's quite a few Whitneys, as in Eli, the cotton gin guy. Both Bushes are on there. Taft shows up many times, including the president.
Right.
And the big thing that is kind of the main thing that's known about them is it all comes from old money. Big,
Yes.
big,
I saw
old
the theme of that
money.
too. Yeah.
And power. So let me just see if I can read through a few of the more noteworthy like roles that these people had in like governments and papers and stuff like that. Let's see. One of the original guys was a Mather.
Oh, no way. What was his name?
Frederick Ellsworth Mather.
Oh, just Mather, not Mathers?
Not Mathers. But
Okay.
but there's been much larger name changes in
That's
the
true.
same families than that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just the addition of an S. So
Mustache.
I don't know if there's a relation or not. Alfonso Taft was also one of the original guys from year one. He was an attorney general. Mather was New York State Assembly. William Huntington Russell, who I believe was like the original guy, was a Connecticut State Legislature and a major general. Alfonso Taft was William Howard's father. He was also Secretary of War, bunch of newspaper editors, Secretary of States, delegates to Congress from Wisconsin, congressman, U.S. representative, professor at Yale, representative from Connecticut, attorney general. This is just like the first like 5 years. People,
I'm sure.
Chief Justice of U.S. Supreme Court, Governor, U.S. Representative, just a whole lot of powerful people. And more recently, there's been a lot more that are in like the media influencing side of things, editors and stuff like that.
Which is kind of contrary to Bilderberg, right? Because Bilderberg does not allow media like access like at all.
Right.
But then these clubs, I mean, they don't leak stuff to the media, but like media,
But
big
they
media,
are the media.
guys are there.
They own the media.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I ran into a whole lot of brick walls. But speaking of brick walls, theirs are pretty visible in terms of like, where they met and stuff. So like they have just they call it a mausoleum.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's on campus and it's like right next to a whole bunch of the main like buildings.
Yeah.
Like it's super prominent. You don't get to go.
It's kind of creepy looking,
It is.
right?
It is creepy looking. Yeah.
Aren't there like trees growing into it or something like that?
I didn't look all that close. I
Let
just
me
saw
look
like
it
the
up.
very front of it.
Keep
It
going.
But yeah, so the way they did things was basically, I can't remember if I think it was 15 members from each class. So seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And the seniors at the end of their senior year would pick like the head people from the next class that would get to pick the next group when they became seniors and the freshman class entered. And I guess there's a few other societies at Yale as well that were kind of similar but not as prestigious. And so there were people that would like pass up on offers from the other ones in hopes that they would get to be skull and bones people.
Yeah.
Dude, it's weird, but it was frustrating trying to dig, but I want to know. I'm going to continue looking at this one because I just want to know like some of the lesser known names and like what they did and like what
Right.
things they're connected
There's so
to.
many.
There was one gal that she's was it state attorney for New York? No, she was the district attorney for Brooklyn, I think. But anyway, she very much not on the side of things that I like and appreciate support, which seems to be a trend for the most part in recent history from their alum. But yeah, no, there's just not a whole lot to be found in terms of things that they do and like what kind of organization they are, which I assume is by design. But it just had the feel of these people make things happen, whether it's good or bad. I don't know, because I don't know anything about it.
Going to Yale, you have to be above the fold and kind of old money yourself, in order to even get into Yale,
right?
And then this is like the elite of that elite, So.
Yeah, that's a fair way to think about it. Yeah, because I was just looking at the enrollment at Yale, because I was thinking about like, okay, so the town of Shadron is smaller than the enrollment at Yale, but let's just say that many predominant people had come from the town of Shadron, you'd start going, that's a little fishy.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, that it's Yale's already prestigious, and then you take the top percent from that, you're going to get some very intelligent, very connected, very powerful people who are going to be going to school. So they're starting out that way.
Yeah.
That's actually a solid point.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Sure seems like they end up in a lot of
That's interesting.
very important roles in our society.
Right.
But politically, they end up kind of more
That's
on...
from what I have seen, the ones that I looked at and investigated a little bit deeper into. I didn't find much, but that was mostly what I was finding, was definitely more left-leaning.
More left-leaning.
Left-leaning.
Which is interesting because the Bohemian Club actually gets accused of being very, very right-wing.
Interesting.
A lot of
Yeah.
it. So,
And maybe it was just the few that I investigated happened to be
But-
that way. Well,
but yeah.
you know, I mean, you think about H.W. and W. Bush were both
Right.
in there
Well,
as well, and they're obviously not so much on that
no,
side of
but
things.
but then these types of people come together for stuff like that, and then stuff
Right.
happens, you know?
and that's
It's very room where it happens.
I
guess I threw that in there earlier at the very beginning of this episode, and I didn't even realize it. But yeah, it is.
Yeah, like right off the bat.
It behaves kind of, or it becomes kind of like a room where it happens kind of organization.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's like people on opposite sides go into a room.
It
and,
seems,
you know,
it seems wild that so much of that gets based on, they're in college. You know, you're
Yeah.
talking about 19 to 22-year-old people, and they are the ones who are getting together and forming. And
Right.
and I doubt it so much that they're making the decisions about what's going to happen as it is they are forming plans
Right.
of what
And
they're going to do and how
connections.
they're going to do things.
Yeah.
And connecting and figuring out a game plan for how they're going to affect the course of our nation.
and they graduate and become part of a secret society like the Bohemian Club and go out into the wilderness and basically pull out all their frat boy shenanigans again like the
What
good
if-
old days, but then they actually get down to business, but there's no business.
What if Skull and Bones is just Bohemian Grove Academy?
It just feels...
I honestly, the
Maybe.
more and more I like look into this stuff, the more I start to believe that like there is no left and right.
Yeah.
There's
That's
just
what I'm getting at.
Cross-reference
there's
That's
just
what I'm-
wealthy people.
I want to cross-reference
people.
the rosters
Yeah.
and just see how
Yeah.
many members of both are.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up this episode, we're going to dive into Freemasonry. If you don't know, it did originally start as a fraternal order of Masons, people who were the literal builders of communities. And over time, it just kind of became more than that. It became more philosophical builders than literal builders, and
Right.
started becoming more about the people who are building the communities and not necessarily the people who are literally building the communities.
Right.
But the thing about Freemasonry that is interesting to me was that each tier you are given more information. So you can't just join Freemasonry and then have all the secrets and then just release them. Like there's
gotta work your way up.
trust. Yeah, you got to build trust with the people in the thing in order to move up to. And there's 3 degrees, but it's almost common knowledge that the 3 degrees of Freemasonry are actually just kind of like the workforce for Freemasonry.
Right.
And it isn't, and like they find you to bring you into the 32nd and 33rd degrees. And those are like you've been very, very, very trusted.
Dude, I forgot the last little detail of the Golden Dawn secret society. So the Mathers dude who was the occultist, he was brought into the Freemasons, and then a year later he was promoted to Grand Mason. Like a year later.
That's crazy.
Anyways, go ahead.
That's kind of weird. But yeah, so like it's kind of a built up over time trust thing. And like when you see like these people like post on like you can find it on any site. They're like, ask me anything. I'm a Freemason. Those guys are not getting invited to the 32nd and 33rd. Like they're just, they might stay Freemasons, but they're not graduating. And then the other thing that I found was when I was Googling stuff for Freemasonry, like it's almost like the search was broken when you would type in like infamous Freemasons, or like, I think I mentioned that earlier in the show, but it was broken. You just couldn't find stuff. And so I had to, like, the amount of digging that I had to do for this was crazy, which I already know. Like, I have kind of a running knowledge of even all of the groups you guys shared, except for the smaller group you shared about. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that one. That was brand new. Yeah. But then, like, it's I have this running knowledge because this is stuff that interests me, because these are people who've literally built the world that we stand in, and we don't know anything about it because everything's secret. Like, that's concerning to me. And Freemasons is kind of no different. And so I found some interesting videos. So there's a video somebody recorded secretly of the very first, like, initiating rite and stuff. That's weird. So they basically are praying, and they're praying to an unnamed God, and they're basically, like, sacrificing themselves to this unnamed thing. Wow. They straight up get, quote unquote, killed and then buried. I'm doing air quotes. They basically get killed and then buried, and then they are resurrected again in dedication to this unnamed God. And so they're almost they're told that they can believe in whatever God they want to believe in. But, like, when you're going through this ceremony, like, if you've ever listened to, like, Exorcist Files, I know I mentioned that show quite a bit, but Father Martins he talks about it a little bit of how many people that he has to exorcise demons out of who have connections to Freemasonry. Wow. And so his theory is that, like, when you're signing those rights, and it's not just you, when you're signing those rights away, you're signing the rights away to you and your family, your offspring. So not only are you're basically dedicating your family, your offspring, the generations that come after you, you're basically dedicating them to this unnamed God. And so I would feel sketchy if I was a Christian and I went through this ceremony. Like, it seems like it's mocking. It seems like it's mocking Jesus is what it felt like to me watching this video. It just didn't even feel right watching it. And
well, that's my thing is, like, does it seem like it is actually, like, an unknown God, or are they just purposefully not mentioning the name of the God unless you're one of the deepest members, you know?
Right.
Like,
And
do you get a feeling one way or another about it?
Well, they do mention Jubilon. I don't know what that is. Basically, it'd be Jubilon. But anyway, it's basically if you break up the word, it basically says, like, I am God or something like that is what they're dedicating to. But the rumor is that each level you progress, you sign more rights away. And if you want to sign your rights, and they don't tell you that it's like you're dedicating yourself to basically a demon until you get to the 33rd. And if you get brought into that, then they're like, oh, just so you know, all of this is for this. Well, and as a pastor, when we sign our credentials, we sign up to get credentials, we actually have to sign a form that says we won't be a part of any of these secret societies. And it specifically names Freemasonry. And the Catholic Church has been a known enemy of Freemasonry for a long time. And
chalk one up for the Catholics.
I know, right? And they straight up bash Freemasonry, which I don't know if we necessarily bash it in our denomination, but we do have to sign a thing that says we are not members. And so you cannot be an Assemblies of God pastor and be a Mason and not be a liar. And I mean, you're sinning. If you're a pastor in the Assemblies of God at the very least, and you are a Freemason, you're a liar and you're sinning. There's no other way around it. You're lying. You have to lie to one or the other. And so, but anyway, this rite is creepy. And then they do this thing, and, like, they use, like, a real human skull. And
we don't
need to. That's okay. We don't need to dive into that because
let's just say I have confirmation of that. That's present in the initiation ceremony.
We don't know.
Isn't that a felony to have one?
I don't know. But they have a human skull.
You're supposed to report that to police, right? If
I don't
you find
know.
a human
Maybe not if it's old enough.
Like if you're digging in your garden.
If it's old enough, you don't have to. I don't think. But that'll come in handy later. So if you hear a child's voice, that is my son. Don't worry, you're good. Okay, so and this is just the, like, initial rite. Okay, so if you're a Freemason, so your name, they do not require you to disclose that you are a Freemason, like your name. So if you sign up for Freemasonry, your name isn't automatically on a list of people who are Freemasons. So there can be people who are Freemasons that we will never know because they're not required.
Right.
And so they don't have to sign official names. They don't have to have their names on official record keeping ledgers. Like the Freemasonry as a whole specifically does not require people to disclose their names on these lists. So if we know that somebody is a Freemason, they have chosen to allow their names to be associated with Freemasonry. So that means there's not only millions of Freemasons, there's even more because we don't know all the names. So there's high probability that there's big profile names that are Freemasons that we'll never know that they were Freemasons. Right. But the people who are Freemasons, I started going down some weird rabbit trails. So we already talked about the one that had to do with Antarctica. When I would find like a video on any social media that basically was talking about like Freemasonry anything, it would have hundreds of bot comments, just most of them repeating the same thing. So it was ridiculous. And like, the bot comments weren't even like trying to like hide it because like, it would be like women posting this stuff. And it's like, we know because women aren't Freemasons. And so it'd be like 3/4 of the comments are comments defending Freemasonry by women. They're not going to know what goes on in anything Freemasonry.
Yeah.
But women, and so it was like very clear, and then they would just repeat themselves. So it was like very clear that this was bots. Yeah. And it was like, it wouldn't make sense to the video, and it was weird. But anyway, so most of these videos are just blasted with bot comments, and that's the only way I can really explain it because it doesn't make sense. But I have a very brief list of Freemasons, Phil. Okay. All right. So the most notable name, in my opinion, that is a Freemason, Bill Gates. That right there
really
concerns me a little bit. Yeah. Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
George Washington.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill. Roosevelt.
Which one?
Both.
Oh.
J. Edgar Hoover, the founder of the FBI. Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. Prince Philip. Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq's amazing.
Shaq is a 33rd degree.
What?
Yep. So, interesting, right? Weird, huh? Anyway, that one caught me off guard a little bit. I knew he was a Mason, but I didn't know he was a master.
I swear, dude, Shaq is just 100% completioning life.
Yeah, for real. So, one of the things that I did notice while I was watching the videos of the rites and stuff that they had to go through is they were, so they have these secret codes that they can't say out loud. They have to like whisper to each other. So they'll get up real close and then they'll whisper the code. And then they have like a few different, depending on which level they are, they would learn secret handshakes that let people know that they were at a certain level. What does that sound like, Phil?
The treehouse entry code?
No. There's a certain religion we just recently talked about, just on this show, where they have secret handshakes in order to, quote unquote, prove that they are a part of this religion and to get into heaven.
I don't remember.
Mormon.
Oh.
That's
you said religion, not cult.
Major tenet of the Mormon religion. We'll save that for that episode if they want to go listen to it. Okay, so with that in mind, guess who is a Freemason, Phil?
I don't want to guess.
Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism.
Shocking.
Guess who else is a Freemason?
I don't know.
All, not some, all of the founders of Mormonism were Freemasons. Every single one of them. Brigham Young. You had Hiram Smith, Sidney Rigdon, Herbert Kimball, all of them. Joseph Smith, Gerald Gardner, all of them Freemasons. So literally all of those commonalities of the secret handshakes and the code names and stuff like that, bro, they just ripped off Freemasonry to create Mormonism.
I wonder how the Freemasons feel about that.
And then all of it, like, think about it, it's like they call them temples.
Yeah.
Freemasonry temples. They call them lodges. Anyway, crazy, right? I actually slipped a name. Gerald Gardner. That's an important name. He is the founder of modern Wiccan religion, whatever you want to call it. Guess what? Freemason. Another name that's kind of fun that just is kind of irrelevant. John Wayne Gacy.
Really?
Serial killer.
Interesting.
Fun fact. Apparently, there's a lot of serial killers that were Freemasons.
That's interesting.
But the crazy thing about it is that a lot of them are just quote unquote rumored to be because you can't find proof. Because as soon as it comes out, Freemasonry scrubs their names. So it's alleged that even the Poof Diddler is a Freemason. But again, it's like as soon as you try to find it now, it's buried and everything is like, here's proof because of this picture of this person going into this place and this. And so like John Wayne Gacy, there's no actual tangible proof other than the fact that John Wayne Gacy claimed it and had like picture proof that he was, but his name was scrubbed. And so there's proof that they were scrubbing names. So it's really intriguing. So they try to keep the names, and Warren Buffett, another Freemason. So we're talking the wealthiest people in the world are Freemasons, high level Freemasons. The Rothschilds, all of them. The Rockefellers, all Freemasons. But anyway, I will say the Poof Diddler.
Can we just call him Doofy?
Doofy. I will say that one is purely alleged because we can't find actual tangible proof. So if you have proof and you found proof of it, send it to me. I'd love to provide that proof. But so we'll just say that is an alleged one. We don't, maybe.
Probably.
Another fun name.
It's likely.
Another fun name that was relevant for the last 4 years. Joe Biden, Freemason. Both Roosevelts. Actually, a lot of presidents were. But I'm not going to go through all the list. But this one, okay. This is the one that I went down. So we mentioned it very briefly that they're going to be releasing the 3-letter named files. So we've got the JFK, RFK, and MLK files are going to be being released soon. So this is kind of in that same vein, okay? So we knew that JFK was not. He was a Catholic, and he was very against all of that stuff, But Lyndon B. Johnson was a Freemason, okay?
That is the least surprising thing you have said to me.
Okay. They've already released some of the audio files in which it talks about, and if you haven't found those audio files, find them. Listen to them for yourself. Don't let somebody else tell you what it says. Go listen to them for yourself. But basically, it becomes very clear that LBJ had a major hand. And we'll just for the sake of this show, because all this is alleged anyway, we'll just say LBJ had a very heavy hand involvement in the unaliving of JFK. So guess who else was a Freemason? That is along the same vein of all of this. You're probably not going to guess.
No,
because do you remember the name of the film?
Which film?
That's famous of the JFK unaliving? Do you remember what it's called?
No.
It's called the Zapruder film.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Abraham Zapruder, Freemason. Do you remember what the report was called after the fact of the findings of the JFK unaliving?
Too long since I researched this.
It's called the Warren Report. Earl Warren, Freemason.
Bro.
Do you know who was also one of the leads of the Warren Report as one of the other people to find information?
No, I do not recall.
Future President Ford, Freemason. Weird, right?
Bro.
Oh my gosh, crazy, huh? What are the odds that all of the most important pieces of the JFK unaliving,
and more specifically, the covering up of
were all Freemasons?
Wow.
And these are just the people whose names were allowed to be released. These aren't even the people who have hidden their names that are Freemasons. Just crazy, right? I'm going to let that one linger there for a minute. That was a rabbit trail I did not think I was going to find. But speaking of presidents being unalived, you know who else is rumored to have been, but we can confirm for a fact that his brother was? John Wilkes Booth. It is for sure that his brother was, and it's rumored that he was as well. And last but not least, and definitely not as cool, but maybe as important, Walt Disney.
That's the second least surprising thing you've told me.
Right.
Wow.
So these are people who are basically like giving themselves up into these ritualistic rites to an unnamed god and basically mocking Christianity through their ritualistic enrollment. And each level becomes more and more progressive. And these guys are like the heads of this organization. And it's been, known for a long time that the demonic follows Freemasonry around quite a bit. And, exorcists regularly have to exorcise demons onto people who are both, but actually more often than not, kids of Freemasons than the actual Freemasons, because they're actual Freemasons. And my theory is, if you're a demon, why would you mess with the guy who signed his family's right away?
Right.
Instead, mess with their kids because they're not going to know why.
Right.
They're going to be like, why the crap is this demon affecting me? Well, if you're the person who signed it, you'd be like, oh, crap. Yeah, I didn't know. But if you're the kids and you never tell your kids that you were a Freemason and you don't allow your name to stand, you signed there right away. You basically contracted your family right over. And unless they become a Christian and have the power to fight that, they're just in contract. you know, because of your great great grandpa or your dad or your, you know, whatever. That's my theory. That's just a rough theory, just putting it out there. But the last conspiracy theory that's kind of fun involving Freemasonry is that there's quite a few conspiracy theories that one of the original founders of the kind of the modern movement of Freemasonry that has become what it is now was actually a name that got brought up earlier, Shakespeare.
Really?
Many rumors that he was one of the founders of the modern movement of Freemasonry. So, you know how I mentioned that they do all of this ritualistic rite stuff to a human skull?
Yeah.
So, fun fact, they just recently were looking at Shakespeare's body. Guess what's missing from his grave?
The skull?
The skull. What a coincidence.
So that's why you gave me that weird look when I was like, where'd the skull come from? He's like, don't know.
Talk about that later.
know.
But his skull's missing, ironically. And it makes you wonder if maybe when they reach that 33rd degree, if maybe that's the skull that they do it to. You know, because I'm sure the 33rd degree is a totally different ballgame than the lower right ones. And that's the thing with Freemasonry, they basically recruit like a cult does. If you've ever seen the way that they recruit, and basically you're basically welcome into this club of the who's who of a community.
Right.
And you join on a bottom level. You're not given all the information of the group. You're given very basic information. You're kind of taught, like, this is a great group of just guys that get together and we talk about donating money and we give money to the philanthropic purposes. We cook some bomb pancakes, you know, for the community at the local fair or whatever. We do these pancake feeds and we just invite people in. And then they join and then, yeah, this is a great thing. And then they reach the second level and you're like, yeah, there's a little more to this. And then you know, they reach the third level and it's like, oh, there's a little more to this. And then all of a sudden, they're in the 32nd, 33rd degree, and it's no longer there's just a little to this. And now it's like, I'm going to sign my whole family's right away. You know what I mean? And they just get you in the door and then just slowly turn the temperature up. It's like cooking a lobster?
Yeah.
Or a frog or whatever. It's frog in a pot.
Yeah.
And slowly turn the heat up and you don't notice it. And then all of a sudden, oh, I'm in a cult. You know, it's intriguing, but Freemasonry and maybe it is purely innocent, just meant to be a philanthropic, and just meant to just bless people as a way of, like, you know, an alternate to church. You know, an alternate to a community of believers that get together and do the same thing as churches do, for the means of fellowship with other guys and maybe. But the problem, the problem with that is that when you look at this list of people and you start looking at groups of names like LBJ, Zapruder, Warren, Ford, and all of a sudden wait a second, you know, you start looking at names that just all of a sudden they have power. They have money. They're the who's who's of what, you know, and you start going, this seems a little more intentional and then you start coupling that with spiritual negative energy and stuff like that. You start going, maybe there's something a little more to this. And eventually it just gets to a point where it's hard to look at Freemasonry and go, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard to look at it, even if trying to take the veil of like religion and Jesus and my spiritual background, take that off my eyes, try to look at it as innocent as possible. And when you watch the right, that's weird, bro. Why? If this is just an innocent group of people, why? Why all the theatrics of it? It's not, you know? And then you got, you know, the founders of Mormonism basically taking the same rites and turning it into a religion. And you start going, what is going on here? It's weird. Yeah. And so, you know how when I was driving, I was like, we're going to wrap up like 5 episodes into one at the end of this episode. Bro, we're talking cults.
Yep.
We're talking unalivings. Of presidents. Yeah. We're talking, you know, Antarctica, people obsessed with Antarctica for some reason, you know, talking rich and powerful people. We're talking all this stuff just kind of comes together. And you got Bill Gates, man. I don't like Bill Gates.
I don't either.
I don't trust him. I think he's caused a lot more problems than he's done good. And all of this starts painting a picture of like, okay, all of these people are Freemasons. That's sketchy. Biden, you know? But anyway, and the list of names that you guys shared with like Skull and Bones and Bohemian Club.
Bro.
There's so many.
The overlap is
There's insane. So many. I was looking at the list of Freemasons that are notable on Wikipedia, just the notable ones. And like you were saying, they're names that you wouldn't immediately recognize.
Yeah.
But then you read their job titles and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow, this dude is really important. This dude is really important. These like the most important people in our world.
Yeah.
Have been Freemasons.
Yeah.
For the last 100+ years.
Yep.
Now, and then it kind of goes down that.
A bunch
Something's
of them from the
up.
birth of our country.
Yeah. Yeah, literally George Washington.
Yeah. Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
That's big names.
And then when you start combining all of the weird symbols that we see on like our money and on our monuments in America.
Yeah.
Starts making you wonder, like, those founding fathers were Freemasons. The money, the people who run the Fed, the Federal Reserve, they're Freemasons. And it's like, okay, this is basically like shadowy government, talking like people who rule the world behind the scenes.
Yeah, so there's one organization that we did not talk about that I feel like maybe deserves its own episode, like altogether, that we all chip in to research on.
I think
you know what.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that would be a great.
That was one that came up on the list when I just was like, secret societies, and I'm like, oh yeah, obviously. So
I think that one will consume all of what we shared today.
I absolutely agree.
But I would love to do a part 2 on that in the future.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Well, with that, thank you guys for listening. If you listen this long, this is probably a longer episode. I appreciate you listening. Thank you for liking, subscribing, do all those things. Join the Discord. Don't forget to do that. You know what? Hit me up if you're ever in town and you want to share an energy drink together. I'd love to get to know you and hear about your conspiracy your experiences. But that is it. Okay, bye.
Ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear